The UFC makes their annual trip to Madison Square Garden in New York this Saturday, where Islam Makhachev looks to become a two-division champion against the Australian Jack Della Maddalena. In the co-main event, we got probably one of the best women's MMA fights we've seen in a very long time, or at least matchups that we've seen on paper. Valentina Shevchenko, the GOAT of the flyweight division, taking on Weili, who's arguably the GOAT of the strawweight division. She looks to become a two-division champion as well. Can't wait for this card from top to bottom. It is looking stacked. Excited to go through and break down this one with you. Now, this is the early picks video because I haven't done any tape study on this one. I usually like to save my tape study till after the fight card has concluded on a Saturday, before I, get into tape study and start to research this card, because I don't like to spread my attention elsewhere before, one task at a time. That's what I'm trying to say. So I haven't watched any tape on this, but that's normal with the early picks video. I look at the matchups based on what we know about both of the fighters. I can kind of gauge, what my early lean is going to be on the fight, and then I'll go watch some tape, check all the boxes, and then I'll have the official picks and most confident picks video to you guys later in the week. But I'm recording this on a Saturday. I'm a little bit under the weather, so I apologize if I'm trying to battle through this. My throat feels awful, but I'm battling through it. The fight card has not happened for UFC Vegas 111 just yet, so I don't have results for you, but on the year, we're positive 63.04 units. If you want all my bets, jump in the Home of 5 Picks Premium membership. Link down in the description below. Use code HeyJive for a 5-day free trial, and that's where you're going to get all my bets, whether it's a parlay, money line, daily fantasy, all that stuff. Get in there early, especially if you want to get those daily fantasy plays. Let's hop into the fights. We got Biesinger Susurkaev taking on Eric McConico. Shout out to Eric McConico, cashing me a nice ticket on him to win by decision against Cody Brundage's last time out. I think it was plus 650 or something, so shout out to him. I did think the guy was okay. I thought McConico was an okay fighter. I'm probably going to retract that a little bit. He's old. He's definitely getting set up to lose here against Susurkaev. Susurkaev is one of Dana White's favorite fighters at this point. Had the only finish on the card, I think, on the Contender Series. I think that was week 1, where Dana was pissed at everybody. Susurkaev gets the lone finish. Dana falls in love with him. He puts him on the next that Saturday's card, where Khamzat Chimaev was on the card. He's buddies with Khamzat. He's Chechnyan. So, Dana loves this guy. He's 24 years of age. He's a really good fighter, man. He's a really good fighter, but he is getting a little bit cocky. In his UFC debut, I didn't know that he looked amazing in round 1, but once he, started to kind of dial in and be like, okay, this guy's not just going to fold. Like, I got to actually lock in. He finished him. So, Susurkaev, there's no odds out on this one just yet, but I expect Susurkaev to be a pretty big favorite. McConico's 35. He could grind a little bit here, but I don't like the reactions that this guy shows when he gets hit. He's been knocked out 3 times. Trains at the MMA lab. Like, he's not a bad fighter. He's just probably not anywhere near like the level of a guy that should be winning UFC fights. Kind of shocked that he did beat Cody Brundage, but Cody Brundage is a bit of a wild card. I think Susurkaev, not much of a wild card, more consistent, and definitely a lot more talented. So give me Susurkaev for the early pick. He'll probably be like minus 1,000. I wouldn't be shocked if he was minus 1,000, to be honest. Let's move on. Fatima Kline taking on Angela Hill in the strawweight division. We got Angie Hill coming in as a plus 310 underdog. Fatima Kline sits at minus 410. So, Fatima Kline, 15 years younger. Insane. Angela Hill's still doing it. I don't know how she's still doing it, but she's doing it, man. And she should be a big underdog here, but I also don't know that I'm completely sold on Fatima Kline. All right? She did get a knockout her last time out against Melissa Martinez. We cashed in on that. I think I had the fight to knock the distance, and maybe Fatima Kline KO 2-3 or something like that, or round 2-3, I forget. But I know I cashed in on it, but I felt lucky. I felt lucky because she hit her with a head kick. Like, yes, it was a nasty head kick, and it was well-timed, but she should be running through Melissa Martinez, man. Melissa Martinez is not much of a grappler, and Fatima Kline really couldn't get her down. So I think she's kind of on the same path of like an Erin Blanchfield. Erin Blanchfield's on this card. We'll talk about her later, but I know they train together. I don't know if they're like partners or whatever. I'm not really sure, but I think Fatima Kline struggles to get the fight to the ground. Like, I don't think her wrestling is very good, but her ground game is pretty good once it hits the mat. On the feet, she's a decent striker. I do think she's kind of more of a flowy striker than Erin Blanchfield. Erin's kind of more of a pressure girl. Fatima Kline kind of flows a little bit better, uses her kicks, moves, and her hands are pretty sharp. In this fight against Angela Hill, like, if she doesn't get Angela Hill to the ground, is she going to look minus 410? I don't know, man. Like, I think Fatima Kline's a decent striker, but Angela Hill, she can still strike, man. She's going to be able to throw a ton of volume here against Fatima Kline on the feet. She's probably going to be able to stuff most of the takedowns from Fatima Kline. But ultimately, I do kind of see the striking being somewhat competitive. Maybe Fatima Kline could land some big shots against Angie, get some reactions, and win some moments during the striking to win the fight that way. But also, if the fight does hit the ground, like, Fatima Kline's going to be the better grappler here. So I am going to lean towards Fatima Kline, but minus 410 is kind of wide, kind of generous, I should say. But I'll take her nonetheless for the early pick. Let's move on. Featherweight bout. Chepe Mariscal taking on Pat Sabatini. Now, this is a good matchup because you can kind of get a little bit of a gauge on how Chepe would do against a guy that has very elite grappling on the ground. But Pat Sabatini's biggest fault has always been this dude's chin. This dude's chin is very questionable, a bit shaky, but he is a very good grappler and seems like he has found a way to fight with like very good game plans. The way that he did Joe Anderson Brito was very impressive just because Brito is a physical specimen at 145, like just a brick shithouse. And he was able to time his takedowns correctly, get him down to the ground, and just wet blanket him. Could he do that to Chepe? Possibly, but I think Chepe's just a bit of a chicken that got his head cut off. Like, this dude's just not going to stop moving. Every time he goes in there, he's going to be throwing a ton of volume. He's going to be in your face. It's going to be wild. He just causes a lot of chaos that I think fucks with people. They don't know what to do. And Pat Sabatini, to me, doesn't seem like a guy that wants to be in the chaos. He wants to be in control. He wants to have everything on his terms. And if things aren't on his terms, I feel like he kind of freaks out. Now, if Pat can get to the back here, it's going to be bad for Chepe. You know, I don't think Chepe is some amazing grappler. He is a judoka. So, I mean, if they get into some type of clinch, you know, Chepe's probably going to throw him, but he's got to watch out for the throw into the back take for Pat Sabatini. So there's a lot of aspects with this fight that I think, you know, could sway one guy to having success and the other falling apart. But I ultimately have to go with Chepe here. I feel like Chepe is just a better striker. I think his takedown defense is okay. You know, I don't really know that Pat Sabatini is going to be able to get him down and hold him down. He's a very good jiu-jitsu player, though. I just think Chepe is such a scrambler with like an endless gas tank that he's just going to make Pat work and work and work. And I feel like Chepe is probably going to be able to pull away as the fight goes on. So I'm going to take Chepe for the early pick. Definitely going to watch some more tape on this just to kind of see, you know, if Chepe is, when he's getting taken down, is he able to pop right back up? You know, if Pat can get to the back, if he's trying to get back up, that type of stuff. Watch some grappling sequences, see how it works out. But for right now, I'm going to take Chepe Mariscal for the early pick. Middleweight bout here, we got Kyle Daukas taking on Gerald Meerschaert, my boy, GM3, stepping in once again. And he's getting a grappler here. A grappler versus grappler matchup, which is nice. But Kyle Daukas is coming off a KO in round one in his second UFC stint debut. So, I mean, he came back after getting cut. I think he went, 1-3, 1-4, maybe 2-4, something like that in the UFC. They cut him, went to the regional scene, was beating most guys on the regional scene, or everybody. I think he went 5-0 on the regional scene or something like that. And then he came back, fought Michel Pereira, and KO'd him round one. Crazy stuff. Never thought I would see a day where Kyle Daukas is KO'ing Michel Pereira, but it happened. And that's not a very good sign, you know, for GM3 if he's going to come in here and Kyle Daukas has all of a sudden found some striking, you know? Kyle Daukas is not a very good striker, a guy has historically been chinny, a guy that's kind of slow, very hittable, And that's exactly what Gerald Meerschaert is, too. So, I mean, these are it's kind of like what Kyle Daukas is going to be in like 5 years. Like, that's probably what GM3 is right now. I think Kyle Daukas wins. I want to say Gerald Meerschaert could pull this one off, but I just don't know that he's going to like catch Kyle Daukas in something. I think Kyle Daukas probably has the better stand-up at this point. I think Gerald he's like an okay striker, but his durability is definitely a question because he's so hittable and leaves himself overexposed. Like, if he gets hit with something big, like, he doesn't like it, he'll find the door. But I think Kyle Daukas wins here. I think he's the rightful favorite. Minus 325 was a bit shocking, though, when I saw it. Stood off the board, I'm like, wow. I'm pretty sure Michal Olashechek was like minus 200, and that looked free. Is Kyle Daukas going to look free at minus 325? I don't think so. I guess maybe if he pulls another KO like he did against Michel Pereira, but I don't really see that happening. I feel like that was an anomaly. But I'll take Kyle Daukas nonetheless for the early pick. I think he probably gets it done. Could be a decision, but maybe an early finish, man. Maybe an early finish. We'll see. But give me Kyle Daukas. Bantamweight bout here. Can't wait for this one. We don't have odds on it, which kind of sucks, but I guess we can have a little fun and maybe chuck out what I think the odds will be. Malcolm Wellmaker coming in here off of another round 1 KO, taking out Cody Haddon, who's coming off a nice victory against Dan Argueta, where he looks like a very, very good prospect, because there's very few people that would do that type of damage and just beat the piss out of Dan Argueta. Dan Argueta's a tough guy, good wrestler, but Cody Haddon just put it on him, and he ultimately won the fight by decision. Coming into this one, man, these are two prospects that I definitely had my eye on. These are two guys that fought on the Contender Series that I was looking at and I was like, wow, these guys are pretty good. So to see them matched up like this I kind of don't like it, because I think both guys could do some damage in the bantamweight division, or at least win a lot of fights in the bantamweight division. So we'll see which guy prevails here. But I find it hard to believe that Malcolm wouldn't be the favorite, just because he's probably going to have more hype coming into this. He's got, three straight knockouts. Malcolm Wellmaker KO'd Cameron Simon, which is a good win, very good win. I mean, Cameron Simon, I think, is a good fighter. And then he was like a huge favorite to Moutinho, and Moutinho went out there and got killed. I was in attendance for that one. Malcolm's a good guy, man. He's a good guy. He's a very talented guy. Seems like he works very hard. Clearly has power in his hands that you can't teach, like just God-given power. Very good reaction, good eyes, good timing as well. Like, picks his shots nicely, moves well, good kicks from the outside. So he's a very good striker. I just don't know what his ground game's going to look like. And I don't expect it to be like completely terrible, but I do think Cody Haddon probably has some type of grappling upside in this fight. We've also seen Cody go 15 and look really good. And Malcolm's been to a decision a couple times, but against a lower level of competition. So I think it's either Malcolm early. I don't think Cody's going to be a guy that is just going to be immune to getting KO'd. I mean, obviously he's never been knocked out, but you haven't been knocked out until you face a big power puncher. You haven't been knocked out until you get knocked out. So, I mean, this could very easily be the time where Cody Haddon goes in there and gets clipped with a shot. But we got to remember, this is bantamweight. This is men's bantamweight. And it's not really a division where you're going to see a bunch of big power punchers work their way to the top. So I do think Cody Haddon probably has the better skill set overall, but Malcolm Wellmaker has that aspect of his game where it's like one mistake and it could be over. So I'm going to lean towards Malcolm Wellmaker here. He's also the guy that was supposed to be fighting on this card. He was supposed to fight Surrey City, so Haddon stepping in on relatively short notice. I feel like Cody Haddon might be a favorite, though, because of the more well-rounded, or at least more well-rounded skill set that we've seen. But I'm going to take Malcolm Wellmaker. I'm interested to see where they drop these odds. I don't expect it to be wide either way. That's why I'm kind of going back and forth. But I'm going to take Wellmaker for the early pick here. Let's move on. Flyweight bout in the women's division. We got Erin Blanchfield taking on Tracy Cortez. Tracy Cortez comes in at plus 155, Blanchfield minus 180. This is a rematch from a while ago, and I think we can pretty much throw that one out the window, honestly. It was so long ago. Both of these girls have had a lot of fights in between then. I don't know that I could really, take much from that fight. I'll go back and watch it. I haven't watched it yet, but I'll go back and watch it and see, how it really played out. But for the most part, I think Tracy Cortez at plus 155 is interesting, man. It's interesting because I've never really been sold on Erin Blanchfield. Like, I think she's a very good grappler on the ground. She has very good cardio, and she's just extremely tough, and she puts a pace on girls. So, I mean, those are some aspects that obviously are going to win you a lot of fights. So, I mean, she's very tough. Striking is okay, but it's more just a volume and kind of walk through some stuff. It's just her wrestling I don't really love. I just don't really love it. And I feel like if she can't get takedowns against girls in this division, like, how many fights is she going to win? I feel like not many. Not many. I mean, her lone loss in the UFC is to Manon Fiorot. And obviously the other loss would be to Tracy Cortez before she got into the UFC. But I think Tracy, if she could stuff the takedowns here, I feel like she's the better striker. She moves well from the outside, and she's a good offensive wrestler as well. I mean, the way that she did Viviane Araujo, man, not a lot of girls are going to do that to Viviane Araujo. And I feel like Tracy Cortez at 31 years of age is kind of hitting her like prime as a fighter. The only thing I don't like with Tracy Cortez, and this is probably just me, I don't want to say being a hater, but me wanting fighters to like just focus on being a fighter, man. Like Tracy Cortez on like social media, I literally just saw a video of her with Nina Drama, and Nina Drama and Tracy Cortez were both like making sexual remarks about what's going on. I'm like, Tracy, you're 31. Like, why are we like trying to sexualize everything about what's going on with you when you're a good fighter? Like, she is a good fighter. Be a good fighter. Why do you need to like sexualize yourself like that? I don't know. I guess it makes sense for her. She's done everything except open the OnlyFans. So, props to her for not doing that. But it feels like she thinks if she doesn't open an OnlyFans, then she can do whatever she wants because be like, I don't have an OnlyFans. I'm not selling my body. You kind of are. Side tangent there. A little bit of a rant. But I do think as this fight plays out stylistically, Tracy Cortez can have success. I feel like she can. I mean, it's a 3-rounder. Blanchfield's one of the benefits with Blanchfield is her cardio is amazing. So in a 3-rounder, it's not like she can pull away late in the fight. I feel like Tracy could win 2 out of 3 here. So give me Tracy Cortez for the early pick as the underdog. Middleweight bout here. We got Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues taking on Roman Kopylov. Should be a great fight. RoboCop steps in at minus 175. Kopylov plus 150. Kopylov coming off the loss to Paulo Costa earlier this year. I believe that was in July, where he looked terrible. And really the thing that looked terrible with him was the physicality of Paulo Costa, the movement of Paulo Costa. Seemed like everything that Paulo Costa was throwing, and also the activity. The activity of Paulo Costa was very impressive, but also think it gave Kopylov a lot of problems. Every time that Paulo Costa would land something, Kopylov didn't like it. And Kopylov just couldn't really counter anything. Paulo Costa was just in there being active, and Kopylov was kind of trying to like defend everything, waiting for his opportunity. Just felt like he got in there and he was waiting because Costa was just constantly throwing something out there. So that's something we can take into this matchup because Gregory Rodrigues is a guy that is pretty active on the feet. He's going to go in there and put some pressure on you, make you feel his presence. Very physical guy. He's going to throw a lot of combos, a lot of big combos, a lot of dangerous combos. The way that he knocked out Jack Hermanson was kind of scary. So, I mean, coming into this one, it's very weird to see, Kopylov was a minus 200 favorite to Paulo Costa. Now he's plus 150. I do think that line was wrong. I bet on Paulo Costa to win by decision there. But I think Roman Kopylov could definitely compete here. He could definitely compete because RoboCop is extremely hittable. We've seen him crack before. It always gets brought up, but it hasn't really been seen since like the Bruno Ferreira fight when he got KO'd. But We've seen it before. So, I mean, if Kopylov, another southpaw striker, can land that left hand down the pipe, I think RoboCop can feel it. But I do think RoboCop should be the favorite here, man. He's probably going to have a lot of grappling upside here. RoboCop's the much better grappler. RoboCop's probably hits harder than Kopylov. And I think he's got kind of more of like a just pure determination to win, like more forward pressure. He's going to go in there and win by any means necessary. So I'm going to take RoboCop to get this one done. It's kind of, I don't want to say a spinning image of like Paulo Costa, but they bring a lot of very similar aspects to this fight. And Costa cruised to a decision victory there. So it can be RoboCop for the early pick. Feature prelim here. Thank God it's not on the main card. We got Boo Nickal. Boo Nickal taking on Rodolfo Vieira. Coming in at plus 185. Bo Nickal, minus 220. Coming off the loss to RDR. I loved watching it, to be honest. I loved watching it. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. One of the fights that I'll never forget, you know? Just the way that he broke. Amazing. But he's taking on Rodolfo here. He's 36. Pure grappler, but has improved a lot of his stand-up. He's a decent boxer, man. The way that he won the fight against Tresean Gore was kind of just outboxing him. But that's Tresean Gore. And is he going to come in here and outstrike Bo Nickal? He arguably could, man. He arguably could. I don't know that Bo Nickal, like, what has Bo Nickal done since then to, like, improve his game? I don't know. Not much. And then you look back one fight with Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig, and he's going to a 15-minute decision with Paul Craig where it was kind of competitive, man. Kind of competitive. So, I mean, though, I know this is a big step down from Reinier de Ridder, but another thing with Bo Nickal is, like, he tried to take down RDR, got reversed, didn't work out well for him on the ground, and then he kind of panicked, and on the feet, then he got worked. So if he takes down Rodolfo Vieira, is he going to get reversed and then panic again? Like, could happen. Could happen. I don't foresee him panicking like he did against RDR and just kind of breaking like he did against RDR, but I do think Vieira can give him some problems on the ground. Vieira's, was a gasser at one point. I feel like his cardio's gotten a little bit better, or at least he's pacing himself a little bit better. The problem here for Vieira, though, is going to be, he usually wants to get fights to the ground, and I don't know that he's going to be able to take down Bo Nickal. So that's going to be a problem for Vieira. So can he win a 15-minute striking battle with Bo Nickal? I think he could, honestly. I think he could, but I don't really know that he's going to. So I'm going to take Bo Nickal here for the early pick. Not a chance in hell I'm playing him minus 220, though. Not a chance in hell. I'm going to take him for the early pick, but this is a matchup that could present a lot of problems, but it is also a matchup that could present a lot of problems for Rodolfo, because if he can't get takedowns, he's got to win a striking battle. He could, but I think it's a tough ask. So give me Bo Nickal for the early pick. All right, before we get into the main card, I want to remind you, if you want all my bets, jump with the Home of Fight Picks Premium membership. Use code HeyJob for a 5-day free trial. We're positive 63.04 units in 2025, up over 100 units last year. Let's get our way back to that 100-unit mark. All right, first fight on the main card. We got a lightweight bout here. Beneil Dariush taking on Benoit Saint-Denis, coming in at minus 200. Benoit cashing as an underdog to Mauricio Hufi his last time out. Beneil Dariush cashing as a slight dog against Renato Moicano his last time out. So, I mean, these are two guys that were definitely counted out in their last fight and overcame that doubt and got a win. And this is an interesting matchup. I think this is a matchup that I feel like we had on our radar like maybe a year or two ago before Benoit got KO'd by Poirier. But it's a good matchup, man. It's a good matchup because what does Benoit want to do? He wants to pressure, throw big punches on the feet, big kicks from range, and then look to take you down and grind you out. And what does Beneil want to do? He wants to be a striker, but then he's also very good at anti-grappling, and he's a very good offensive grappler as well. So, I mean, the way that these styles clash should be very interesting. I will say, though, there's one guy that's in his prime, and there's one guy that's not. And that's probably why we see minus 200 on Benoit Saint-Denis and plus 170 on Beneil Dariush. Dariush got cracked bad by Moicano in round one. Moicano's not a big power puncher. Okay, he hadn't had a KO win until he fought Jalen Turner, and then he fought Beneil Dariush. So he had back-to-back KO wins, and then knocked down Beneil Dariush. So, I mean, that's just not a good look for Beneil. Obviously, his chin has been in question. He's been knocked out 5 times. It's always been a bit shaky, and it feels like at this point it's very, very shaky. And McConico gassed out in that fight as well. So, I mean, Beneil coming off a win, but he had to overcome some adversity. And once he did, it felt like the guy across from him just didn't have much gas left in the tank. So Beneil got the win. On the other side, Benoit was facing a young, extremely good striker that he just took his soul, man. He took his soul, was grappling, was taking him down, was putting him in bad spots, got reversed a couple times, or Roofy got out of it, and then just kept going, got the round 2 submission via neck crank or rear naked choke, whatever you want to call it. I think Benoit gets this one done. I do think Beneil can grapple with him, but the thing with Benoit is he's very good in the clinch. He's extremely aggressive on the feet as well. I feel like Benoit is just going to put this guy through hell, and he's going to be able to land a lot of elbows in the clinch. Good kicks from range as well. Beneil's also got very good kicks from range. So it comes down to where they're at in their career, honestly. I think they're both pretty solid fighters. I just think Benoit, coming off the win especially, is going to get his confidence back, come in here and beat a good guy. So give me Benoit Saint-Denis for the early pick. Welterweight bout here, we got Carlos Prates coming in at -190, taking on Leon Edwards, +165. Old Leon, Rocky. I think it's over, bro. I think it's over. But this is a matchup that I think Leon could compete in. It's 3 rounds, but I just think Prates is extremely dangerous, and Leon Edwards just isn't. Just isn't, man. It just isn't. Everybody talks about him having the headshot against Kamaru Usman, but, bro, he's had like 3 KOs in his UFC career, which is 18 fights. So, I mean, this guy's just not dangerous. He's not dangerous. I mean, Carlos Prates had, how many KOs has he got? 5? 5 KOs. 5 KOs. And Leon Edwards has 3 in 18 fights. So, I mean, Prates is going to come in here and put the pressure on Leon. And that's, Leon likes to fight off the back foot, but he also likes a slow-paced kickboxing battle where he's going to control it. Leon could have some grappling upside here. He's faced a ton of grapplers in his run, and I feel like his grappling has certainly leveled up, or at least his confidence in his grappling has leveled up. Still don't know why he shot a takedown against Sean Brady in round 4, but he did. And facing all those grapplers, like I think this is a matchup where if Leon Edwards wants to win cleanly, he's probably got to grapple. But I don't know that he's going to. So at range, I think Carlos Prates beats him up, but I'm going to take Carlos Prates for the early pick. I think Leon's coming off some losses that I don't know why he took the Sean Brady fight. I guess maybe just to stay on the card, but I thought that was just a terrible matchup for him. Brady's very good. We'll talk about him later, but in this one against a striker, at least he's getting a striker. At least Carlos Prates is probably not going to take him down. Where the line is at right now, -190 for Carlos Prates, I feel like that's kind of capped. I feel like that's probably capped because, yeah, he could knock him out early, but Leon's not a guy that I think is going to get shinned easily. I also don't think Leon is a guy that is going to put himself in bad positions. Jeff Neal's a guy that's going to stand in the pocket and want to trade. Leon Edwards is not that guy. So at -190 for Carlos Prates, I feel like it's kind of capped there, but I do think he wins. I'm going to take Carlos Prates for the early pick. Definitely going to watch some more tape on this. And, just kind of see how Leon does against aggressive strikers and see how he fares in those type of fights. But give me Carlos Prates for the early pick. Another welterweight fight here. We got Sean Brady coming in at -126, taking on Michael Morales at +106. This is a big fight because, if somebody drops out in the main event, it's probably going to be Sean Brady stepping in. And I hope Islam pulls out of the main event, to be honest, because side tangent, I still got my tickets for JDM to be champion by the end of 2025, and I got a ticket on Sean Brady to be champion by the end of 2025. Both are at +225, +2,250 odds. So either one of those guys. I also have a ticket on Carlos Prates, but I doubt he's going to get the call to step in on short notice to be the main event. But either way, let's talk about this fight. Sean Brady -126. I think he's the rightful favorite, but man, do I want to go against Michael Morales, bro? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Sean Brady's extremely good. Like, there's a reason I bet on him to be the champion by the end of 2025 because I think he's very good. But fuck, dude, Michael Morales is such a specimen. Such a specimen. And we went to the Apex for Morales versus Gilbert Burns. And we were very close in proximity to seeing, Michael Morales when he walked out. And, when you're at the Apex, like, they're not that far away. You can get a pretty good gauge for how big these guys are. Michael Morales is fucking huge. He's huge. And not just, like, tall, but, like strong as fuck. Like, just a brick shithouse. He made Gilbert Burns look tiny. Tiny. And I've seen Gilbert outside of camp. Gilbert is all of 200 plus pounds. Like, Gilbert has a massive neck, huge head. I've stood next to him, and I'm 5'11", walking around usually about 190, 195. And I stood next to Gilbert when he was out of camp, and Gilbert made me feel small. And the fact that Gilbert looked tiny next to Michael Morales, it's a big deal, man. It's a big deal. So there are some concerns for me with Sean Brady to where Michael Morales is just too physical for him. Like, I think Sean Brady's chain grappling is where he needs to be here. He needs to get Michael Morales in spots to where he just can't be bigger and stronger than him. He can't go out there shooting double legs to where Michael Morales can just dig underhooks, put his hips into it, and shuck him off. And on the feet, like, you don't want to stand and bang with Morales, bro. Like, Morales has some fucking clubs in his hands, and Sean Brady is not a dangerous striker, really. So, I mean, Sean Brady's going to have a very good game plan here, and he's going to have to stick to it. But if he does get out ahead, that's where I think he could take over this fight. If he can get out ahead, if he can get a takedown, maybe get a back take, get him into side control right away, and, keep him there, hold him there, frustrate him, then he can kind of snowball that. I thought that's what he would do to Leon Edwards, and that's exactly what he did. Once Sean Brady gets you into, he's kind of like Merab in a sense. Once he gets you into a rhythm of, like, we're grappling, I'm going to beat you to the next position. Maybe you might get out of this one, but I'm going to beat you to the next position, and then you're going to have to defend that one. Once he gets you into that rhythm, fights tend to slip away from his opponents. So this is a very interesting fight because I think it could go one of two ways. It could go Sean Brady gets his grappling going. He puts a clinic on Michael Morales on the ground. Michael Morales is the Ecuador wrestling champion or whatever, national wrestling champion. Okay, buddy, who cares? But he's very physical and very big and clearly has a good skill set. Or it goes way number two. Michael Morales is able to keep this fight on the feet and just be fucking bigger and more athletic than Sean Brady. And I think it's kind of a 50-50. So considering where the line is at, I'm going to go with Michael Morales for the early pick. Now, I got to watch some more film on Michael Morales and, see how he does in certain grappling sequences if we can find them. But like I said, I think it's kind of a 50-50. It's a tale of two fights. Could go great for one fighter and poor for the other, or it's going to go great for the other fighter and very poor for the other. So give me Michael Morales just because he's the plus 106 dog. I think it's kind of a 50-50, but got to watch some more tape on it. Great fight, dog. Can't wait for it. All right, co-main event. We got the flyweight title of the night. We got Valentina Shevchenko coming in at minus 105, taking on Zhang Weili, sitting at minus 115. And this is a fight where it could come down to, who's the GOAT of women's MMA. Now, obviously, Amanda Nunes is considered the GOAT of women's MMA at this point. But if Zhang Weili can come in here and beat Valentina Shevchenko up a weight class, there's a pretty good chance that she could begin that conversation with Amanda Nunes, because Amanda Nunes was champion at 145 and 135. But at 145, that division kind of sucks. Kind of sucks, man. Like, there's not really much going on there. At the time, like, they had some better fighters. But Weili at 115 is, like, where most of women's MMA is. Like, there's a lot of 115ers out there in the world. So that's a very competitive weight class. And then going up to 125, It's another very competitive weight class, but also at 125, Valentina Shevchenko has reigned 125 for a very long time outside of her fight with Alexa Grasso, where she made one mistake, and then she should have won the rematch, and then she dominated the trilogy. So, I mean, Valentina Shevchenko's the GOAT of 125. If she can beat the GOAT of 125, then she's arguably the GOAT of 115 and just beat the GOAT of 125. Now, a lot of stuff going on there, but I think in this matchup, it's very odd to me to see, Zhang Weili's 36 years of age. I feel like she's younger than that. Maybe it's a typo, maybe not. But either way, both girls have been in the UFC for a very long time. Valentina, been in the UFC for longer. She's had a very long mixed martial arts career. I mean, at this point, it's probably creeping up to like 30 years in the sport. She probably started at 7 years of age. Jesus Christ, dude. 30 years is crazy. But true martial artist, man, she's just good at everything. She's good at everything, and she's very smart in there, and I think she's won a lot of these fights in her older age just being smarter. Just being smarter and having maybe more tools in the toolbox. Against Manon Fiorot, was she that much better than Manon? I didn't really think so. I felt like Manon could have easily won that fight, but I thought Valentina, being the girl with more championship experience, was able to make the right moves at the right time to win the rounds and ultimately win the fight. Against Alexa Grasso, she made the mistake in the first fight, but she was winning that fight. She got dropped in the second fight, which I didn't really like to see, but she battled through it, and she arguably should have won if it weren't for, a 10-8 in round 5. That should never have been a 10-8. And then in the third fight, she was like, you know what, fuck this. Like, I can take this girl down whenever I want. I'm just going to take her down and hold her down for 5 rounds. And she did. So she won that fight based on having better fight IQ and more tools in the toolbox and exploiting a weakness. I look at Zhang Weili, I'm like, what is her weakness, man? What is Valentina Shevchenko going to exploit against Zhang Weili? I don't think it's there. I don't really think it's there. Now, Zhang Weili, I do think she's going to be smaller, but she's very strong for 115. I don't really think Valentina's going to mog her at 125. I guess maybe if Valentina can get a takedown, she might be able to win some positions being a little bit bigger, but I feel like Zhang Weili could be faster here. I think Zhang Weili's hands, her boxing is better than Valentina's. Valentina's more of a kickboxer that likes to stand at range and kick away. If Zhang's not, I don't know that Zhang's fought many great kickers, so that could be a problem for Zhang Weili. She did get knocked out by a head kick via Rose Namajunas, so Valentina's got a nasty head kick. There's a lot of aspects in this fight. I do think it could be fairly close, but I feel like Zhang Weili moving up a weight class might get it done. She might get it done, man. I'm going to take Zhang Weili for the early pick here. Going to go back and watch some film, but I think Zhang Weili can get this one done. If Zhang Weili wants to grapple too, I don't think that's completely out of the realm. We'll see, but Zhang Weili going to be the early pick. Let's go to the main event. Jack Della Maddalena take it on Islam Makhachev. Sit down. -250. JDM comes in at +210. As I told you a couple minutes ago, or maybe more than a couple minutes ago, I have a bet on Jack Della Maddalena to be the champion of the welterweight division by the end of 2025. So at the end of the year, if he's the champion, I get paid out +2250 odds. And at the time, JDM, I think, was supposed to fight Leon Edwards. Or I guess this was before he got the Leon Edwards fight booked, but he became the champion, beating Bilal Muhammad, and I was hoping he wouldn't have another fight by the end of the year so I could cash that ticket. But unfortunately for me, he got the number 2 pound-for-pound fighter in the world in Islam Makhachev. Islam moving up from 155. The guy hasn't lost since he got knocked out by Adriano Martins, and that's the only time he's ever lost. So you look at the UFC record between these guys. I mean, 24-1. 24-1. JDM's never lost in the UFC. Islam has ran through almost everybody. The only real competitive fight that he's had outside of the fight that he lost was the first Volkanovski fight. And it's interesting because, of course, Volkanovski's a a 145er going up to 155. And now Islam's the guy moving up a weight class, and he's facing another Australian who is training with Craig Jones, who Volkanovski trained with when he fought Islam Makhachev the first time and the second time, but the second time was on short notice. So there's a lot of aspects of this one where it's kind of similar, but a little bit different. Islam at minus 250 is, I think it's a bit wide, man. I think it's a bit wide because JDM's takedown defense isn't like amazing, but he discourages takedown attempts a lot with the way he moves, with the way he changes levels when he strikes, with his footwork, with the way that he rips to the body as well. Very good body puncher. And if you're ripping to the body, then guys aren't really going to be looking to level change as much because they don't want to drop their head into a punch. But the difference here, and I've said it a couple times, but the difference between Belal Muhammad and Islam Makhachev is Islam Makhachev is a finisher, man. He's a finisher. Belal Muhammad is not a finisher. So, yeah, JDM beat Belal Muhammad. I bet on him to beat Belal Muhammad. I was pretty confident he was going to beat Belal because Belal can't do anything to you on the ground. He can just get the takedowns, and I thought JDM's scrambling ability would give him a lot of opportunities to get out of that and get back to striking, and he did. But the difference between Belal and Islam is when Islam has you on the ground, he's waiting for you to make a mistake, or he's going to force you into making a mistake. And when you make that mistake, he can capitalize on it and finish the fight. So that's what scares me in this one is, if JDM is scrambling with Islam and makes one mistake, gives up his neck one time, the fight could be over. The fight could be over. And I've seen Jack Della in some bad spots before. And I feel like if Islam is the guy that is holding those bad positions on JDM, he could probably finish the fight. And Islam looks fucking huge now. He looks like he's taken all the creatine that you can get and then some. It looks like they're shooting creatine into his ass, if you know what I mean. But I think Islam probably gets this one done, man. It's going to be very hard for me to go against Islam Makhachev against almost anybody. But, I do think the line is a bit wide. I would put Islam at minus 180, minus 175, somewhere in that range. So I do feel like there is some value on JDM at plus 210. But like I said at the beginning of this fight breakdown, is I got some upside on JDM to win this fight already. So I don't know that I'll actually play him, at plus 210. But I do feel like there's some value because I don't think Islam's boxing is all that great. I feel like he kind of needs a clean kickboxing battle to look good on the feet. And JDM's not going to give you that. He's not going to give you that. And the way that he fought against Belal was impressive to me because, Belal's going to shoot takedowns. And the way that he was just, don't really care if he's going to shoot takedowns. Like, I'm going to do what I do best, and that's strike with you and win moments on the feet and win minutes on the feet. And if you take me down, whatever, I'll just try to get back up. So early pick's going to be Islam. I do feel like there's a little bit of value on JDM at plus 210 number, but don't know that I'll actually play it because I already have the upside. But appreciate y'all for watching. That's going to do it for the video. Like the video for me before you go. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be back here throughout the week with more content. Appreciate y'all. Till next time. Hey, Job Picks.